Today we're talking about SeaWorld. Would you like a minute to tell us who we are?
Sure. Yes, actually we are a Vista consulting firm coming to talk to the Blackstone Group, which is actually the primary shareholders of SeaWorld in particular.
Okay. Welcome and start.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Lexi Giovanni.
And my name's Chantal Chalato, and we're Vista Consulting, brought back here to speak on behalf of you, the Board of Directors of the Blackstone Group, owners of SeaWorld Entertainment, to discuss the ethical issues of keeping orcas in captivity. So, as you know, SeaWorld has recently been gaining a lot of negative publicity, and we know this is not the way that you want to be perceived, as this does not align with your three main guiding principles of accountability, integrity, and entrepreneurship. So, additionally, when taking a look at the Blackstone Group's Code of Business Conduct and Ethics, it is stated that when faced with a problem, you must ask yourself, is this problem, does it seem ethical or unethical or improper? And if it does, it probably is, and alternatives must be sought out. So please keep this in mind as I speak about the ethical issues of keeping orcas in captivity. So from the time orcas and dolphins were first being held in captivity, there was not that much information known or research done on them to conclude that it was unethical to keep them in captivity. However, throughout their time spent kept in captivity, researchers have been able to understand that they are so highly intelligent and so sophisticated that their fundamental nature is completely incompatible with captivity. So the progressive scientists that exclusively study orcas, such as Lori Marino and Diana Rice, have been continuously supporting the idea that orcas have characteristics so similar to human beings that they should not be thought of as property, but instead be thought of more as individuals. In other words, they should be thought of as a who and not a what. So in order to explain what I mean by a who, not a what, I'm going to speak about three main factors. The first is that orcas are highly intelligent. The second is that in order to thrive, orcas require lifelong social bonds. And the third is that orcas are capable of feeling emotional pain. So, to speak about how orcas are highly intelligent, orcas have a brain size extremely large relative to their body size. And additionally, the outer portion of their brain is extremely wrinkled, which shows complexity. And science says that there are two indicators of intelligence. The first is brain volume, and the second is brain convolution, and orcas score highly on both of these counts. Additionally, due to their intelligence, orcas need to be able to exercise control over their own lives as they are self-aware. And additionally, the progressive scientists have conducted experiments such as the mirror recognition study, where it was found out that orcas are able to recognize themselves in a mirror, whereas other animals such as a dog might look in a mirror and see that there's something there. They might know it's another dog, but orcas are able to understand that it is themselves in the mirror that they're looking at. So the second point I'm going to speak about is that orcas, in order to thrive, need to be able to exercise lifelong social bonds and complex social networks. So, in the wild, orcas exist within a community, and each community has a specific dialect, culture, and characteristics which set it apart from other communities. So with this being said, one orca cannot just be taken from one community and dropped into another community and expected to be able to thrive. So, as you know, there was an incident in SeaWorld where one orca from Icelandic waters was put into a tank with an orca from Pacific Ocean waters, and they had an altercation which ended in the death of one of the orcas. However, in the wild, there has never been an account of this happening, because in the wild, they are not confined to this stressful environment. They have enough space in order to be able to remove themselves from danger or any situation they do not want to be in. So the third point I'm going to speak about to understand what it means to be a who, not a what, is that orcas are capable of feeling emotional pain. So due to their high intelligence and sophistication, orcas are able to think and reflect on their emotions. They feel hopelessness and despair much like human beings do. And additionally, just like a human being would feel emotional pain if their child was taken away from them, orcas experience the same amount of pain and the same suffering that human beings do. They suffer emotionally and physically. So to bring this back to ethics, there are two widely accepted fundamental ethical principles. The first is do no harm, and the second is treat others appropriately. And while some people may say that orcas are not outright treated with harm by being in captivity, the fact that they cannot grow, flourish, or thrive in captivity shows that they are not being treated appropriately. So in order to thrive, Orcas need to be able to move. They need a varied physical environment, and additionally, they need enough space to be able to remove themselves from situations like I just previously spoke, as orcas are adapted to thriving, moving, hunting, and foraging. So in the wild, orcas are able to swim up to 100 miles a day and dive depths from 100 to 200 meters. However, in captivity, they're confined to a space that's only 48 feet in length and only 12 feet deep, which is not even half of the size of their bodies. So with the points that I've spoken about, their high intelligence, their sophistication, the fact that in order to thrive, they need lifelong social bonds and complex social networks, and the fact that they can experience emotional pain, it can be concluded that orcas are not compatible with captivity. And this is not only an issue with SeaWorld, but any company that seeks to house orcas in captivity, it is completely impossible to recreate their natural environment, and they are not given what they need to be able to thrive in captivity. So just because human beings are capable of keeping orcas in captivity, it doesn't make it an ethically sound thing to do. And we know that Blackstone wants to do more than what the law requires. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Lexi, who's going to speak about our solution to this problem.
Thank you, Chantel. Yes, so now we're going to speak about some of the solutions that we have come up with this problem. So as we've stated before, I'm actually going to suggest a very drastic change because we don't believe that this is actually a sustainable business model with the current shifting trends in public policy, public opinion, as well as the research that has been found most recently. So our first solution is actually to discontinue live orca shows, and then the second is to actually rebrand into a more educational IMAX interactive experience. So as we said, the first step is to discontinue live orca shows. So this includes the ending of captive breeding, as well as actually being a leader, because you would be the first ones in this industry to actually make this change and be seen by the public as making a change, making a difference, and actually, in our opinion, bringing positive public perception to what you're doing, as well as improving your company reputation, which, as Chantel has previously mentioned, currently is not at the same level that it was before. And our second step, as we mentioned, is to rebrand. This would include actually removing of orcas, which, as I'm sure you're first wondering, is what do we do with the orcas? Actually, there have been plans discussed by the progressive scientists that Chantel has previously mentioned that would include an actual phase out of captivity, including possible ocean sanctuaries. None of this has actually been hashed out yet, but as I said, you'd be the first ones to be making this difference and actually be able to work with these organizations to make this change and actually, in our opinion, bring a little more public goodwill to your company. This would also include the next thing, which is rebranding. During this transition, actually, we believe that this could be used for education. So as you rebrand to a new simulation, IMAX simulation concept instead, you could actually use the orcas that you still have currently in captivity for educational purposes, bringing in student school groups, things along those lines to actually help with the transition into the phase out that we have previously discussed. As I said, this rebranding would include an interactive IMAX experience, similar to what they're doing at California Adventure in Disneyland, which would actually, similar to Soaring Over California, as many of you I'm sure know of. Actually, this would be a great option, in our opinion, for the public that is currently, this generation is so tech savvy that this is actually something that they're very happy to use. Monterey Bay actually, Aquarium has been one of the first companies to actually remove their whale shows, and this actually brought public goodwill. As I mentioned before, they've actually been very successful continuing, as well as Universal Studios. You're a major competitor. They've actually opened, the last 4 of their rides have been IMAX simulations, and they have done very well, especially when Transformers opened in 2012. They actually had a 15% attendance increase, and just to give you an idea of numbers, that's $27 million that different in that quarter in comparison to the previous year's quarter. So just to give you an idea. So as we said, this would include discontinuing of the live orca shows, which has all those reasonings, as well as a rebranding for more educational experience using IMAX simulation, which actually we think gives you more of an opportunity to correctly educate and actually improve your education system as it is currently. That is something that is so important to SeaWorld. And actually, as a company, obviously this is your decision. You're going to have to make this, but we think based on your principles of wanting to be a leader, wanting to take advantage of opportunities that other companies are missing completely, this would actually completely align with what you're planning to do and actually bring future profits from what we have seen. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.